This episode of Homemade was previously recorded in front of a live stream audience who asked questions and cook along during the show. If you love cooking and want to join us in the kitchen, visit homemadecooking.com to register for free live classes. Now, let's get cooking. What the heck is going on, party people? Thousands from across the world and the country so excited to make classic chicken mole today. Woo! I am Joel Gamoran. I'm the head chef here at Homemade. For those of you who have not met me, we're so excited to have you be a part of the Homemade kitchen and cooking experience. We're going to let people kind of trickle in. This is just how it goes. We have people from all over the world kind of cluing in. We've been around for 3 years. We have an amazing, really tight following who we see every day. And then we have so many new faces. So we kind of give the same spiel. So while people are coming in, I'm curious. Throw it in the chat. I'm curious where your best mole was ever. I just want to know, like, if you've ever had a great mole. And if you've never had mole, I'm curious also in the chat. Have you never had it before? Is this new? We have an amazing support person in the chat, our head of operations, Christina McDonald. Christina, what's up?
Hey, everybody. I'm so happy to be back. And this is going to be a great class. I have a lot of good memories of my dad loving mole growing up, so I'm here to play.
What makes this mole so different today, there's a bazillion moles. It's like saying salsas, right? I mean, there's a million salsas, or barbecue sauces, right? Like there's just, mole is so regional and it's so hyper specific to climate, where in Mexico you are, what it's being served with, ingredients that are readily available. But what makes this one so special is a total Seattle ingredient, us being from Seattle. Today it's all about coffee, people. First and foremost for this mole, we have 2 dried chilies that we bought from the grocery store. So one is a guajillo and one is pasilla, all right? And one's a little bit bigger. I can kind of show you a smaller one. So this is kind of bigger, the guajillo. The pasilla is a little bit smaller. You buy them dried like this. They hang over fires, they dry until they're shriveled like raisins. And you can buy them at any grocery store nowadays. I'm telling you guys, you think you've never seen this ingredient. It's because you're not looking for this ingredient. So just go down to the ethnic aisle of any grocery store and look for these dried chilies. Now, if you can't find specifically guajillo or pasilla, that's fine. Any dried chilies will work. They have different nuances of flavor, so you'll kind of have to mess with it if it's not these exact chilies. But when you smell dried chilies, they have this chocolatey, raisiny, I'm getting chills just smelling it. I mean, it smells so good and it pairs so well with coffee. So that's why it really makes sense. So step 1 is you buy these, and then in a dry pan, we're already on a medium-high heat, you toast them. You don't add any oil. You just put these in the pan and you kind of just flip them until they kind of start to get a little bit soft and malleable, and you'll start to smell these chilies in your kitchen. They smell amazing. And so what we're going to do now is, now that these are toasted, it only takes a minute or 2 to kind of toast them. We want to soak them. And we're going to do this in a really good way. We're going to take about half a cup of coffee and we're going to just deglaze this pan. How awesome is that? We're going to go with equal amounts. So we went with about a cup of coffee. We're going to go with about the same amount of chicken stock, right? And just kind of let these chilies kind of soften in this stock and coffee mixture. Really, really easy. Cool? The key to mole is you always want dried chilies. There's always some sort of a nut. Today we've got almonds. There's always some sort of a dried fruit. Today it's raisins. And then there's just a plethora of spices and aromatics. Simply today we've got an onion and some garlic. And then I'm not going to go through every spice in the world. It's in the recipe. We will put the link in the chat. But we have everything here from cinnamon to oregano to rosemary. And if you just like put your schnoz on this plate, oh my gosh, I could put that under my pillow. It smells so intoxicatingly good, like unbelievable. So we're gonna go ahead and dump all these spices in. Right, no need to mix, nothing like that yet. I'm even gonna dump in my nuts, my almonds, my beautiful raisins. This is the thing about mole, it always looks like a disaster until you start to blend it. It's just like, what are we making? With coffee and dried chilies and like, looks like a witch's brew. I love it. It's awesome. All right, and then some fresh aromatic. So I'm gonna turn off the heat at this point. It doesn't need to keep boiling. We're just softening things up. So I've got one onion, which I'm just gonna cut in half and just kind of chop this up. We're gonna blend all this, so it doesn't have to be perfect. And then 3 cloves of garlic. And while I'm doing that, Christina, how are we doing in the chat? I'm curious of what people said about mole. Like, have they had it? Where did they have it?
You know, we had the whole spectrum. We have folks who are like, I've never tried it, but I'm game to try it now.
Yeah.
One person had a sister attempt mole, and it was interesting. And then other folks were like, oh yeah, I had this in Oaxaca, or I had this at a great restaurant in LA. So lots of different folks, lots of different ways that folks have been engaged with mole and tasting it, learning about it. But yeah.
Love that.
As I was boring you with earlier, it's originally from the Aztec culture of like chocolate and chilies and pepitas. And then the more modern version comes started in Puebla. At a little convent, Santa Rosa.
Yeah, which you went to with your dad, yeah?
Yeah, my dad was a big mole lover growing up. I was not, but we did make this little pilgrimage to the convent where the nuns first came up with it. They had a special, I think it was a special priest was coming, and they wanted to make something really special.
What?
But the kitchen's still there, and there's a big terracotta pot in the middle of this gorgeous tiled kitchen where the very first mole as we know it was made. And it was so charming.
The very first mole, that's insane.
Yeah, it was a great trip.
There's always a story behind a good mole. I mean, there's always a story behind every dish, but a good mole, I mean, I'm telling you, there's so much history, there's so much there. And, there's some restaurants that I've actually worked in personally where we would make a mole, we'd make the sauce, and then we would always make a fresh batch, but we'd always have some left over from the previous batch. So it would just feed the next mole, and we'd keep folding it in, and it would get more complex, more complex. It was crazy. All right. So I took that whole crazy mixture, coffee and all, and I put it in my blender. And I always want to kind of take off the lid when you're blending anything hot, just so you don't have the steam kind of trapped in there, and then it can kind of cause a big disaster. And then I just put a towel over the top and just go nice and slow. And you want a really thick paste, right? And now it's starting to happen. And I'm going to turn up the volume here. Oh yeah, it's trying so hard to get through those chilies. I'm going to give it a little bit more love. There we go. Come on, there we go. Mole is being chopped, right? I mean, it's got the onions, it's got those almonds, it's got dried chili, so it's putting your blender to the test. Let's just give it a look, and we can always stir it around, but I can smell that it smells right. Oh yeah, this is about there actually. I don't need to go any farther than that. So what you can see, I'll kind of pull it up. You can see the nuts, you can see the coffee, you can see the chilies have completely broken down. This looks amazing. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna take it out of my blender and pour it back in my pan. And this part is kind of called purging the mole, or kind of drying it out. It really kind of concentrates the flavor. So we're gonna kind of spread it back in the pan that we toasted our chilies in. And at this point, oh, look how good that looks. We're gonna put it back on a very low heat, maybe a 3 out of 10. So I'm gonna get my stove back in here, and I'm just gonna kind of dry out that paste. It makes it more concentrated, more sticky, more flavorful by just doing this extra step. So I'm gonna put this back on, get this going, and then again, if it looks a little dry, you can always add a little bit in And you kind of are looking for that texture of like, I don't know, the best thing I can think of right now just because of the look of it is like chili texture. I've got 2 chicken breasts. Super simple. We're literally gonna just grill this chicken. We're gonna open it up a little bit so it has a lot of surface area so the mole can really get in, but the star of the show is, it's not the chicken, it's the mole, right? And I just have a nice sharp knife here, and I'm just gonna use the tip of the knife and kind of open it like a book. I'm not going all the way through the chicken. I'm just kind of opening the chicken, right? So next up on the chicken, I'm gonna grab a little bit of olive oil. Any oil will work. We called for vegetable oil in the recipe. And then I like a lot of black pepper and a good amount of salt here. The black pepper plays so nice with the coffee and all the spices. And obviously the salt, we need salt. And we're now gonna grab a grill pan and start grilling up this chicken. So when you're using a grill pan, you kind of wanna be on medium high heat, like a 7 out of 10. As this gets getting hot, we have a couple of sides. So these are all optional, but we roasted up some butternut squash, just a little bit of olive oil, salt, and pepper for about 15-20 minutes at 400 degrees. This is gonna play so nice as a side dish. And then I've just got some really good, normal, everyday, fluffy rice. So I'm gonna grab my chicken here, salt and pepper side down. Whoops, that fell over. Right in. Beautiful. And I'm gonna get rid of this board. We thought it would be really fun to kind of whip up a little cocktail, one that you could totally pair with this mole, or one that I think just stands well on its own. So we thought we'd make a coffee old-fashioned for those of you old-fashioned fans out there. First step to this is really easy. Again, this is an extra recipe. This is not online. So if you want to follow along, you can of course watch the recording, grab a little notepad, jot down some notes. But I have a little bit of agave. You can use honey. We're just gonna go with like a little splash of this, right? So like teaspoon of agave into this glass. Whoop, that came out fast. And then to make sure that agave really disintegrates, you want hot coffee. Again, I love that Moccamaster just kind of keeps this warm, doesn't burn it. So we're gonna fill up this about halfway with nice hot coffee, about half a cup of your favorite hot coffee. And then just kind of stir that. Really simple. And that just really melts the agave or the honey, whatever you're using. Really kind of keeps it together. And then we're gonna go with a shot of bourbon. Let's go with a shot of bourbon. Why not? In we go. This is actually an apple bourbon, which I think would be really nice in this. I'm excited to try it. And then a splash of Grand Marnier. Orange and coffee work. They have worked ever since tiramisu was invented. That's all I gotta say. I love Grand Marnier. So just a little teaspoon of that. By the way, before we move on to the next step, we're gonna flip our chicken. Let's just take a look at it. We've been very patient, making our cocktail, not messing with the chicken. So let's just see where we're at. Oh, gorgeous. Releases super evenly, nice char marks. Really, really simple. So we're gonna let that hang. Last step to this is I'm just gonna grab some ice and just kind of knock them off. Right there. Maybe 3 cubes. One more stir. You can of course shake this, but when I'm making a cocktail at home, shaking is like the last thing I think about. I just want to get this in my mouth. Couple of bitters, orange bitters, just on the top. I don't like to mix that in. I like to kind of let that float. That way you kind of get that on the nose. And what you have here is an old school, put a cherry in it, a little orange peel. We don't have those things because we wanted to make this on the fly. But such a simple, refreshing take on coffee, right? To kind of think of an old fashioned. So give it a try. Okay. Whoa. This thing is good. This is really, really good. All right, so chicken is almost there. Mole, now the mole got really thick on me, and that happens sometimes when it cools down. So again, this is a coffee mole, so the base of it is coffee. But if you want to thin it out with some water or chicken stock, you can. But I'm gonna grab some more of that hot coffee, add another half a cup or so, until I kind of find the consistency that I'm looking for. I'm looking for that kind of saucy, beautiful consistency. Now we're looking like a mole to me. All right, I've got some nice everyday fluffy white rice, and I'm gonna start on one side of the plate and just load up. Then I've got these just warm to the touch little, does it not say the season, butternut squash, just beautifully charred. I'm gonna put that on another side of the plate, just kind of piled high. All right, next up, I'm gonna give my chicken one more turn. Look how just caramelized and beautiful that's getting. Holy moly. Sometimes the chicken breast is just all you ask for. But I'm gonna try this mole. I had a little bite earlier. A little bit goes a long way. Whoa! It just kind of hits you in the face. I mean, whether it's the coffee, the chilies, the raisins, the 20 different spices we put in between cinnamon and nutmeg. Woo! It's like a wave. I mean, you just feel it all the way in your toes. It's one of those sauces that are just, it's meant to just throw you off balance. Like you just don't know what's happening in your mouth.
It's so rich.
Special.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of a more is more sauce. This is not an understated, like 1 or 2 note. This is like all the things. Lena said she's tasting hers, and it's
totally
amazing.
agree. All right, guys, so I'm going to take one of these chicken breasts. Check it out. I'm just going to kind of layer it right here. Pretty simple little plating here, but simple is what it's all about with this. And then I just start taking this mole. I want to make sure you guys can kind of see the consistency here. And you just want to kind of drown your chicken in it. I mean drown. I don't want to see the chicken. Right? Oh my gosh. Look at that. More. You will not have enough of this. Like, this mole is amazing. To add some salty, little bit of like just fresh pop, we've got some cotija cheese, which is kind of like feta cheese, incredibly pungent. But we just kind of break this up with our fingers and just kind of right over the top. Right? And then we grab some sesame seeds if you've got them. This is not in the recipe, but I really like this addition and it's traditional. So a little bit of sesame right over the top. And then if you want to put some cilantro on there or something, go for it. But ladies and gentlemen, coffee mole. All right, let's dig in here. Oh yeah. Grab a little bit of that sauce, a little bit of that rice. I might take off my glasses. This is a religious moment happening right now.
It's in your toes, it's in your eyes, like you're covered head to toe.
I mean, you guys, with the squash, let me get a little squash in there. I was the worst bite ever, but oh my gosh. What I love about cooking, just period, is it can get boring so fast eating, right? You eat the same stuff every day, and it's like, how many chicken breasts have you eaten in your life? Do you make the same 5 recipes over and over and over again? And the answer is, for most of us, it's yes. And then you make something like this, which just stops you in your tracks. It makes you rethink, oh my God, I gotta cook more. I gotta get in the kitchen more because it is so vibrant. It's so different. It's so exciting that it kind of like reinvigorates every part of who you are. This is so delicious. The chicken's moist. The coffee is playing so well with the other ingredients in the mole itself. The rice and obviously the squash balance it out greatly and kind of act more of like a vessel than anything. With my coffee old fashioned. Yeah, this is a lot of caffeine. If I don't have an anxiety attack in the next half an hour, something's probably wrong with me. But I love it. We're so appreciative of you being here live. If you're watching this on demand, we're so grateful that you're watching this on demand as well. Have a great rest of your day. We'll catch you here tomorrow for some beautiful Dutch babies. Take care, everybody. See you next time. Hey there, I'm Joel Gamoran. I'm the head chef and founder of Homemade, and we launched Homemade with the idea that we want to bring cooking and the kitchen to the world. So if you love cooking and want to join us in one of our free live stream cooking classes, head to our website, homemadecooking.com. That's homemadecooking.com to register today.